Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Dragon Ball Fighters, and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. To me, these are the big three of Dragon Ball gaming, and out of all three of these, there is only one that does not have a next-gen upgrade, and to me, it really doesn't make sense that Xenoverse 2, out of these three, is the only one without a next-gen upgrade. So in today's video, I want to hit on 3 points with a next-gen upgrade for Xenoverse 2. 1. What could a next-gen upgrade do for this game? 2. What is the actual possibility of seeing a next-gen version on this game? And then 3. Why haven't we seen one up until this point in time? Because it is definitely the oldest out of these 3 games. Xenoverse 2 came out, then Fighters, then Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. So why don't we actually have one yet? And those are the 3 points that I want to hit on in order, first starting off with what a next-gen version could do for this game. Because, I mean, Xenoverse 2 is 7 years old, and if they do plan to continue to support this game like they make it seem well into the future, well, then a next-gen upgrade would be pretty nice considering how old this game actually is. Like I said, it's the oldest out of the big 3 of Dragon Ball gaming at this point in time. So what can a next-gen upgrade actually do for Xenoverse 2? Like, what would be the point of adding this in to this game? What would it actually improve upon, right? Well, the first 2 are pretty obvious in my opinion, and that would be graphics and loading screens. Or not loading screens, but loading time. Loading time should definitely improve, along with the graphics should definitely improve on any next-gen version of, well, any game. Like any game that gets a next-gen version, those 2 things are pretty much guaranteed to be in that next-gen version. You should definitely be getting better load times, and you definitely should have better graphics than you did, because the hardware is just better overall, which makes the graphics better and should make for better loading times at the same time. So those 2 things to me are just a given and like a guarantee with any next-gen version of any video game. But what else could Xenoverse 2 do with a next-gen version that would actually give people incentive to upgrade to said version, right? One major thing I think would be somewhat improving upon the netcode. Now, I'm not saying a full-on rollback update like Dragon Ball Fighters is getting. I truly think a rollback update for a 3D anime arena game would be very, very hard to implement. But just seeing some kind of netcode improvement to what we currently have, but on next-gen versions, would definitely be a nice update to the game, without a doubt. Now, I'm not saying you're going to experience the better netcode every single match, because you will most likely still have matches where you're playing people from the last gen, unless they don't make it cross-gen, which I don't see them doing at all, because I don't think they would want to isolate players and have lobbies be even less full than what they already are now. So when you come across someone from a previous gen, you would most likely still be running on the previous gen's netcode. But if you run across someone that is on next gen and you are on next gen yourself, having a better netcode for those matches alone would definitely make Xenoverse 2 overall a better experience, and that would definitely be something that would incentivize a lot of people to get the next gen version of this game right here. Now, another thing that comes with a lot of next-gen versions of games is little in-game stuff, like little in-game bonuses, maybe accessories, clothing items, things along those lines that would be exclusive to the next-gen version, again, incentivizing players to actually upgrade their game, because that is a thing I see a lot with next-gen versions of games. They'll have like little bonuses in the game for upgrading or whatever, so it actually gives people a reason to upgrade from the previous version to the next one, along with the graphical updates and like loading screens and other quality of life things that I said before, right? So those are things that I feel the next-gen version of Xenoverse 2 could do, and I think that those 4 alone would make for a much better version of Xenoverse 2 overall, and the main thing definitely would be the netcode improvement. Now, the graphical improvement would definitely be welcomed as well, considering, well, this game is 7 years old at this point in time, and really, it's built off of the same models and stuff from Xenoverse 1. Were there slight improvements here and there? Yes, but it was still built off of the Xenoverse 1 models that we do have. So again, graphically, an improvement in any way, shape, or form would definitely be welcome. So those are the things that I think could be improved or could be added in with a next-gen version of Xenoverse 2. But that brings me to my next point of the possibility of seeing a next-gen version for this game. And I do think there is a semi to good chance of seeing it, considering a couple of things. One, like I said before, out of these 3 games, it is the oldest out of these 3. I mean, it came out almost 8 years ago at this point. No, 7 or 8 years ago. I don't even know. It's been a damn long time. Okay, so I looked, and we are coming up on year 7 of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which still is insane, and it still is the oldest, like I was trying to say, because Fighters came out about a year and a half after Xenoverse 2 did, and then Kakarot came out 2.5 years after Xenoverse 2 did. So those games getting their next gen version, or at least having it announced for Dragon Ball FighterZ, doesn't really make sense to me, considering this is the oldest game. And maybe if, Xenoverse 2 just wasn't as successful, it would make sense. But it's actually the most successful right there with FighterZ. Both of these games have hit 10 million copies sold. So the success is definitely there for this game to get a next gen version. Maybe it's just not being supported though, like the other games are to this day. Well, that's not right either, because Xenoverse 2 actually gets the most support out of all three of these games. Like, Xenoverse 2 gets more updates and DLCs than Dragon Ball FighterZ and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Like, if you look back at the last 2 years, the game that has gotten the most content added into it and the most updates for it is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. So it is the oldest, it has the most sales, and it's still the most supported out of these three to this day. How in the hell do we not have a next gen version for this game? Like, all those things point to a next gen version for this game, especially since they have already come out and say that they do plan to support this game for some time. We don't know exactly how long that exactly is, but the simple fact that they still plan on supporting this game after 16 DLCs and almost 7 years later makes me feel like we deserve a next gen version for it as well. Like, that is kind of crazy to me when you think about all those things, and how Xenoverse 2 is the only one out of these three that does not have it, even though it is definitely the most overall deserving of a next gen version without a doubt. Now, this brings us though to my last point, which is why we may not have potentially seen this next gen version up until this point in time, because like I said, it is definitely the most deserving. There is no category of what you would think of for a game deserving a next gen version that this is not at the top of. Sales, what's it called, how old it is, the amount of support it gets, like, all of those are in Xenoverse 2's favor, but we still don't have one, which again brings me to the question of why. Why don't we have a next gen version of this game? And the only thing that I could personally think of that makes sense as to why this game does not have one, but the others do, is that maybe out of these three games, the closest to getting another installment in its series is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Maybe Xenoverse 3 is closer than a FighterZ 2 and closer than a Dragon Ball Z Kakarot 2 or Dragon Ball Super Kakarot, whatever that game is going to be called. That is the only thing in my mind that makes sense as to why we have not gotten an actual next-gen version of this game. Like, that, there is no other reason. I can't think of anything else. I'm literally drawing blanks at this moment in time while I'm recording this video, because I cannot think of another reason as to why they have not given us that next gen upgrade, because it definitely is the most deserving, it's the oldest, all things like that. But like I said, maybe out of these three games, the one that is closest to another sequel is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, and potentially that is why we have not seen a next gen version of Xenoverse 2 yet at this point in time. Now, I will say personally, I don't think we'll be seeing a Xenoverse 3 anytime soon, because I do think they'll probably try to let Budokai Tenkaichi 4, or whatever that game is going to be called, I believe they'll try and let it shine on its own for a little bit in terms of being the only new hype for the Dragon Ball gaming series, because while Kakarot, FighterZ, and Xenoverse 2 even may all still be getting content at that point in time in terms of DLCs, I think they want that to be the only like new and hype Dragon Ball game at that point in time when it does come out, and have it be that way for at the very least a year before we even hear about another Dragon Ball game. And that next Dragon Ball game we hear about potentially could be Xenoverse 3. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen for sure, but I am saying this is the only reason that my brain can think of as to why we have not gotten that next gen version of Xenoverse 2. Because like I said, it is the oldest, it's tied for the most sales, it has the most support, and honestly overall has probably made the most money due to it having much more DLC packs than Dragon Ball FighterZ. So overall, like I said, I do think it is definitely deserving. I do think there is a possibility, but I also think the reason why we may not have gotten one yet is because maybe Xenoverse 3 is actually the closest to releasing out of the next gen, or the big three of Dragon Ball games. So let me know what you guys think about all the things I said down below in the comments, from the things that I think a next gen version could improve upon, why Xenoverse 2 is extremely deserving of a next gen version, and then also why it may not have gotten this next gen version yet at this point in time, and may never get it as well. Let me know your thoughts on all that down below in the comments. But till next time, man, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and as always, hope you have a good one. Peace, y'all.